Territorians. It's a day where we can celebrate and welcome people that have had a very, very difficult time, and I'm really delighted to be part of this wonderful day called World Refugee Day. It was great to have a citizenship ceremony and welcoming. We had a traditional welcome from the Larrakia people, and it's just fabulous. They've got so much multicultural community that we can celebrate, and it's just wonderful to be part of that. Well, in the Northern Territory, we are so multicultural. We embrace multiculturalism, and I think that there's actually a welcoming of refugees into this country. Most people understand the plights of many of these people that have gone through terrible situations to be here. So Darwin in particular is a melting pot of multiculturalism, and we only have to have a look here today and to see the wonderful blending of cultures that we have, and I'm really, really delighted to be part of this.
Well, it's a celebration of World Refugee Day, which is celebrated on the 20th of June, and we're doing it today on the 14th of June. So we're bringing together communities who've settled here in Darwin, who've come originally as refugees and are now living their lives in the Darwin community. And so it really is a celebration of people who've come from other countries and experienced war, fled and come to Australia to find safety in a new life. Today's event, the star attraction of course is the football. We're partnering with Northern Territory Football, and so there's a lot of men today who are going to be playing football, but I think next year we're going to get together a women's team and give the men some run for their money. But we also have some fabulous food stalls today from different communities that have settled in Darwin and providing their traditional foods for us today. It's also a range of performances from communities that use their dance, their singing and traditional forms of art as a reminder of their own culture, but bringing it here for us to enjoy and to watch and celebrate with them, that they brought that here to Australia for us to enjoy. So it's a really great opportunity for former refugees themselves to celebrate their culture in Australia, but it's also a great opportunity for those of us who've been here for a while to experience that and to come together. And of course we've seen some dances and some welcomes from the Indigenous people of this area, and that's again a fantastic opportunity for us to remember that a lot of Indigenous people have been displaced in Australia in the past, that they may not be living on their traditional lands, and yet they stand here and welcome not only us but those who've most recently arrived to live in this place and live together, sharing with each other and learning together.
So you're representing Melaleuca Community Centre, is that right? So what's your role, what's your function there for the refugees?
So the Melaleuca Refugee Centre has a number of different services in it. Today, probably, I guess the most relevant is that we are the settlement service in the Northern Territory. So we receive refugees from overseas who've registered with the UNHCR, and then they're placed in Australia for settlement. So we're the agency that picks them up at the airport and takes them to their first house and helps them settle in to Darwin and find out how to get a bank account, how to get Medicare, and then how to make their way around the community and begin to firstly, I guess, create some safety for themselves and their family, and then start to look for the opportunities that they have in terms of participating in community, employment, but also in some of the social activities. But we also provide services around counselling for those who've experienced torture and trauma. So we do that with those who've arrived from overseas, but we also do it for those who are in detention here in the Northern Territory, and also for those who are living in the community on a bridging visa. And so we're able to receive those people into our service if they've had a significant experience of trauma or torture in their home country or on their way to Australia. And so it's a lovely way to be able to support people, not just in their experience of settling here in Darwin, but also to look at some of the really challenging things that have happened to them, to their families and to their communities before they even arrived in Australia. So obviously there's been some changes in government policy in the national context in terms of the way we receive refugees in Australia, and of course most controversially that's about people who arrive by sea. But in Australia we have people arriving as refugees in different ways. They can arrive by sea, they can arrive by air, and then they can also arrive through our offshore program, which is those who are coming from refugee camps around the world. And there has been, of course, a lot of attention on those arriving by sea. Of course, the amount who are arriving is still incredibly small, almost only 5% of the total migration that comes to Australia. Many people think that it might be up to 90%, but of course, that's really not the case. And in fact, the number of refugees who arrive in Australia is very small compared to the overall migration program. So that brings challenges to people who are arriving as refugees, because some people believe certain things, like that they are given more than the average Australian, or that they are more privileged than some of those who are disadvantaged in our community. But in fact that's not the case, and refugees and asylum seekers in particular struggle on very minimal support financially, and also bring with them a lot of struggle and challenge. By nature of fleeing your country because you are afraid means that you do arrive with challenges that and some potentially trauma that you've experienced. And so there is a time in which people need to develop that safety around them, and eventually over time bring that confidence to be able to contribute back to the community. It is disappointing that our national debate at the moment is focusing on the negative aspects of refugees, or what we perceive to be the negative aspects of refugees coming to Australia. But in fact we know historically that refugees have made a very positive contribution to Australia. In fact, not long ago it was determined that of the 8 most wealthiest people in Australia, 5 of them had a former refugee background, entrepreneurial, and really made something of their lives as they came to Australia and contributed significantly, not just in accumulating wealth for themselves, but in giving that back to the community. And so refugees have a lot to offer, not just on a small scale in a community, but also potentially in a large scale in terms of business and in terms of even politics and leadership in this country. And so we welcome that contribution, and also the difference it brings to our country, that we learn from each other in different ways and in different experiences.
World Refugee Day is an international celebration. It's designed to celebrate the experience of refugee people as they begin to settle in their new country. And we celebrate their strengths, their resourcefulness. We also have a citizenship ceremony here today, and celebrate their skills and talents. There's a lot of wonderful cooking here. There are soccer matches from many different teams across Darwin, plenty of children's activities, and soon we'll have a lot of performers, groups of performers who've been training all year to practice singing and dancing within their own cultural practice, to provide a view of their culture for us and to share that, which will make it a really fantastic day. I'm looking forward to that part.
So you're going to be a citizen today?
Yes, by the grace of God today.
Yeah. How long you been in Australia?
Actually, I've been in Australia for 4 years now.
Okay, so decided to go to be a citizen?
So I'm a citizen today.
Yeah, okay. How long you been in Darwin?
Darwin, actually I stayed in Darwin for 3 years.
Okay.
and then I was in Cobsabot for 1 year.
Yeah.
And so all in all, I'm 4 years now in this country, Australia.
You happy about that?
Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I give God the praise for coming here today to have this wonderful program. Very much happy.
And of course, today we sit and stand on the land of the Larrakia people, and we acknowledge that there has been displacement in this country for people in history, as there has been people who have arrived here as refugees displaced from their own lands.
I got another ticket to say I was a refugee. So I know what it's like to feel unwanted or nowhere to go. And this is why it's important for me to say, as a traditional owner, that we want you to feel welcome when you come to our country. We want you to share the benefits that we have, not just on the land and the sea, but in your homes, your work, and all the people that you work with. Wherever you go, you should feel welcome. And if you do that to one another, a Larrakia welcome has done its job. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Have a wonderful life in Darwin, and welcome.
On behalf of the Department of Immigration and Border Protection, it's my great pleasure to welcome you here to the citizenship ceremony today, which forms part of this really fantastic World Refugee Day Festival that we have organised. The continuing theme for Refugee Week 2014 is Restoring Hope. Australia has a proud record of resettling refugees and people in humanitarian need. In the past decade, more than 115,500 people in humanitarian need from around 110 different nationalities have been resettled in Australia. This year, as well as celebrating the 65th anniversary of Australian citizenship, the Department is also commemorating 25 years of Women at Risk visa, giving hope to vulnerable women and their children. Australia is one of only a few countries in the world that has a specific allocation of places for women at risk visas and dedicated settlement programs after they arrive in Australia. Over the past 10 years, 10,000 women at risk visas have been granted to women and their dependents from 37 different nationalities. I'd like to commence the ceremony today by reading a message to you from the Minister for Immigration and Border Protection, the Honourable Scott Morrison MP. The message reads, "Today you inherit a legacy provided by previous generations of Australians who have made our country what it is and the people we are today. I acknowledge our Indigenous Australians, who were the first people to place their footprints on this magnificent land. For us who followed, we all share in a migrant heritage. Whether we arrived recently, like some of our new citizens today, or whether our families have been here for many generations. The Australian story is one of courage, mateship, endurance and sacrifice. It is our duty to honour the contribution of previous generations and to uphold the values that guided them and have stood the test of time. This is regardless of our race, ethnicity, religion or background. In their gift, we are truly united as Australians all, and this is how we should live together, as Australians first and always. This year we celebrate the 65th anniversary of Australian citizenship. On 26 January 1949, the Nationality and Citizenship Act 1948 came into effect, creating the new status of Australian citizen. Since then, more than 4.5 million people have done what you are about to do, make a commitment to Australia and its people. Together as citizens, we will continue to ensure that Australia remains the best country.
My thanks to Melaleuca Refugee Centre, who actually asked me to do this. It's just a wonderful opportunity. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we are meeting on the country for which the Larrakia people and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries, and on which Indigenous Australians have performed age-old ceremonies. Citizenship is a common bond that unites us all, from Australia's traditional owners to the descendants of earlier settlers and first-generation migrants. Our rich heritage stems from the contributions made by each of us. Australia takes enormous pride in your decision to choose to become a member of our nation. And as a fully participating member, Australia gains by your commitment to it and through the contribution you will make to the well-being as an individual as well as a valuable member of Australian society. I now invite those candidates taking the oath or pledge 1 to be upstanding, and if you have your Bible or Holy Book with you, please hold it in your right hand and together repeat after me. From this time forward under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Thank you.
Thank you.